Mic check, mic check, mic check. Woo! Coming in hot. Coming in hot, that baby. Coming in sounding funny too. Can you put some bass in my voice or take away the tinny sound? What's the deal? Y'all got a bad audio system? Are you fixing it? And you're adjusting the light? Oh my goodness. All right. This guy killing me today, man. Hot mic. Yeah, there we go. Coming in hot. All right. What we got? Oh, I was going to give her the answer to my question so she could win, but that would be an unfair advantage, wouldn't it?
Very unfair.
Because I would not. Oh, she's just upset. She wanted to know the answer today, and I said, no. I'm going to do a book giveaway. So if I give you the answer, you'd be cheating.
So we're about ready to start.
I'm all in your personal space, man. Sorry. Okay. I'm so sorry, man. I'm not going to stay here. Is this your guy? Just your friend? You're a little protective of him. Like, you could just move.
This is my student.
This is your student?
That's my student.
Well, she's really protective of him because she's like, I was in his personal space. She's like, you could just move. But she might have been talking to me to move.
She might have.
I know, I'm gonna move over here.
Hey, Renee.
Yeah.
I'm going to introduce Meg, and then Meg's going to introduce you.
Well, I should introduce Meg.
No. I'm going to introduce
Meg.
Meg.
Get out of his space.
You'll see.
Okay.
Okay, so welcome to our event tonight. My name is Jeannie Babb. I am Associate Dean of Arts and Sciences, and we are delighted to have you this evening to hear the rock star physicist and NASA engineer, Dr. K. Renee Horton. She will be introduced in a moment. But I first want to extend my thanks to the co-sponsors of this event, the School of Arts and Sciences, the North Country Planetarium, the College Auxiliary Services, and the Alumni Association. We are immensely grateful for the funding that made this event possible. Dr. Horton's keynote tonight is one in a series of events leading up to the total eclipse of the sun on April 8th, 2024, occurring right here in Plattsburgh. We're smack in the middle of totality, the path of totality, as they call it. We're thrilled that you're joining us on this path tonight, and we encourage you to keep an eye out for future events as we lead up to totality. Our next one will coincide with the Lunar New Year in February 2024. And before I yield the mic, actually, I don't have a mic, but anyway, before I yield the mic, I want to acknowledge the hard work that went into making this event happen. I extend a heartfelt thanks to my colleagues on the Eclipse Steering and Logistics Committee who generously contributed an abundance of time, energy, creativity, organizational skills, and unfailing good humor. Without them, we would not be here tonight. I will now turn the program over to Dr. Meg Pearson.
It's like the Muppet Show.
Dr. Meg Pearson is Dean of the School of Arts and Sciences. She will introduce our keynote speaker.
Good evening. Welcome all of you so much to this wonderful event. I've been looking forward to it for weeks. I have been hyping it to my students like it was the second coming of Christ. It's going to be huge. I'm excited to be here. All right. Dr. Horton describes herself as a hearing-impaired black physicist, mother of three. She is all that and more. Dr. K. Renee Horton is a native of Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and a graduate of LSU. She earned her doctorate in materials science with a concentration in physics from the University of Alabama and was the first African American to receive that degree. She first worked for NASA as a student from 2009 to 2011, and then started her career as a mechanical test engineer in 2012. She currently serves as the Space Launch System Quality Engineer in the NASA Residential Management Office at Michoud Assembly Facility in New Orleans, and that's the longest workplace I've ever read in my entire life.
What?
Dr. Horton's accomplishments are vast-ranging and exceedingly impressive. I'm only able to share with you a few items. She has been awarded the Black Engineer of the Year Trailblazer Award, a NASA Spaceflight Awareness Team Award, and was recently inducted into the prestigious Honor Society for Physics, Sigma Pi Sigma, pardon me. She was president of the National Society for Black Physicists and serves now as a distinguished fellow of that organization. Was she named 2019's Louisianian of the Year by Louisiana Life magazine? She was. Is she a constantly sought-after speaker for events worldwide, such as the first International Women and Girls Day at the UN, the Essence Power Stage, and the March for Science? She is. Is she a proud alumna of Delta Sigma Theta? She is. Is she the author of an award-winning series of children's books about science with titles such as Dr. H Explores the Universe? She is. It gets embarrassing after a point. You're like, and then she split the hour.
You are embarrassing me.
Oh, good. And now we are so lucky to say that she is also our guest here at SUNY Plattsburgh tonight. Please join me in welcoming Dr. K. Renee Horton as she takes us on the squiggly path to happiness totality.
Y'all can give that up for me. That is by far the best introduction I've had in the last 5 or 10 years. I like she's all into it. I'm like, oh man, did you get that?
I got it.
All right. Did you get that? So when I go back and replay that, I can start sending it to people. Like, if you are not going to introduce me like Meg did, you are doing me a disservice, yourself a disservice. But I am truly honored to actually be here. I am not a cold weather person either. So for the longest, I would tell people I'm more than happy to come in early fall, late spring. If you're doing something over the summer, I'm there. And then I went to Canada, stepped off into a little mountain cliff that they had plowed to the side. The snow was to my knees. I was kind of stuck for a little bit. They had to pull me out of it, pull me out of the boots. But it got me over my fear of snow and being freezing. I thought my digits were going to freeze while I was there, but it got me over that. And so here I am now in Plattsburgh, New York, and I had the most amazing lobster bisque over at Anthony's, and a bourbon pecan pie today that, you know, is not the way we make it in Louisiana, but it was good. So thank you for having me, and thank you too for wanting me. So my squiggly path. Okay, this worked. All right, it works. Come on. I got to start with the fact that NASA allows me to do this, but these are my opinions, and only my opinions, and NASA will tell you quickly these are not theirs. So therefore, I have to let you know that I prepared this presentation in my own time, in my own business, and because I work for the government, they want to make sure you know I'm not wasting your taxpayer money. These are my parents and my grandparents. And so I like to start my journey with them because this is where I started. Really, I did. So this is where I started. But these people have a place in my life that allowed me to be the oddest little kid that I could be. I received my first telescope at 9, and it changed my life completely. It was like it was the first time I had seen the moon with the features, but it wasn't a picture, and it wasn't me just standing in the yard looking at it as some glowing object. It had things, and it sparked something inside of me at 9, and it was huge. It was like, I want to be a part of that. I could do that. So I put it in my mind that I wanted to be an astronaut. And later on, I figured out how to do that. I was going to be a pilot in the Air Force, You know, I'm only 5'2", but I can do that. I can be a pilot. I met a pilot smaller than me lately, so. But I wanted to be a pilot, and that's what I was going to do. My parents divorced about 13. And I tell that part of it because I went from a 2-parent home, middle class, to being extremely poor. Where my dad had gotten ill, and he was on disability, and my parents had gone through this divorce, and there were times where we couldn't keep the water on. And I remember my mom calling and saying, they're going to cut the water off today, go draw the water in the tub, fill it up. And then the guy came and did it one time, and we were running down the street like, we didn't do what my mama said do. Can you come back and turn it on just for us to fill the tub up? And he said, y'all got to get this together. And I was thinking, it's not us, but then, maybe it was. But the thing is, I tell you that this happened to me at 13, but it didn't change what was going to happen to my life. We're playing with technology today, I see. All right, so I started college at 16, and I joined the Air Force ROTC. Oh, Lord. My hearing loss was diagnosed at 17. I'm going to go on this side, maybe that'll work. And then I was pregnant at 18 because I had no idea what to do with the hearing loss. So they diagnosed me. My dream of wanting to be an astronaut, wanting to be a pilot, kind of went down the pipe for me. Well, at the time, though, I had a good-looking boyfriend. So, that's how we got pregnant. Anyway, he was good-looking. And went home, he consoled me, and boom, here we go. Well, I had my oldest, and we moved to Germany, and then I had my youngest. So I dropped out, I became a wife and a mother, and 7 years later, we were separated. Go figure, right? We weren't truly aligned. And I truly believe in life aligning with the planets, the stars. Remember, I got this big dream, right? We weren't aligned, and it just didn't work out. And we separated, and then I gave birth to my daughter. See, my daughter is what changed my life. Because at that time, I realized I needed to kind of figure out what to do in life, because the hearing problem was still there, and it was going to be, but I also had this little girl looking up at me. Like, what are we going to do? And what I realized at that moment, when she was in my life, was that I needed to do something so life could be good for her. Like, I wanted her to be able to dream big, right? But I needed to be able to do something for her to be able to do that. So I went back to college with 3 kids. She wasn't 2. It was not the smartest move. But at that time, I also didn't know it wasn't a smart thing to do. I went, and we made adjustments each semester. And we got through. I graduated in 2 years, finished with a minor in math, went on to get my PhD, which she told you, became the first of that program. And then I was inducted into our Distinguished Alumni Hall of Fame in 2020. So that was a pretty big deal for me. I became a full-time NASA employee after being a student. This actual picture represents my 10-year anniversary. I started in April 2012, and it was the first piece of hardware that we were going to manufacture in Huntsville for the first time in 30 years. And I was placed over the mechanical test program. And so my dissertation is in self-reacting friction stir welding. It's self-reacting friction stir welding that's on the rocket. So I got to test my dissertation, and my dissertation is actually flying. But it was the first program of welding after 30 years, and they allowed us to put our names on it. And so I put my mama's name, my daddy's name, my sister's name, the kids' names, and the guy I was dating. Let me stop myself right there. Because you know what? That piece of equipment went up into space, and when it came back down in the atmosphere, it burned up, and so did that relationship. So I'm going to let you know, if you get the opportunity to be writing your name squiggly somewhere, don't add nobody that ain't permanent, because it's just going to, it could be a sign that it could just burn up. So she did not like the very long title, but I work at Michoud, which is French. So Michoud Assembly Facility, which is in New Orleans, and most people do not know, we have been going to space through New Orleans for more than 60 years. The boosters for Apollo were made there. The external tank was made there. And now core stage for SLS is made there. So not only do you get space in New Orleans and beignets and daiquiris at drive-thrus, you gotta get there. Now the astronauts do like come and visit us, quite a bit. So I'm getting a little nervous about them daiquiris in the drive-thru with them. So I started off as a non-conformance engineer. And what that is you go in, you tell me what's wrong. Like, this technology was all crazy. We go in, we diagnose the problem, and what did I tell you? It's gonna work out. They come in and they tell us it's gonna work out. And I'm like, tell me how it's gonna work out. So as a non-conformance engineer, you know every single thing that's wrong on your rocket. And I knew everything that was wrong on my rocket. Then I went on to become the VAC lead, which is the Vertical Assembly Center. You see it here. The Vertical Assembly Center is the tallest weld tool in the world. It stands 170 feet tall, and its circumference is more than 23 feet around. It's huge. It's beautiful. It's the only one in the world. I went on to become a quality engineer, and I spent my last 2 years with SLS as a quality engineer. Quality engineer goes in and makes sure other people have done their job right, and I did that. The big part for me was I got to integrate the engines into the engine section. So being able to oversee that as the NASA person was a huge thing for me. You have to remember, I'm a little girl that came out of pretty much the projects. And now I get to oversee engines being integrated into the most powerful rocket in the world. So Artemis is Apollo's twin sister. And I have to say that it takes women to get us back to the moon. No shot at the men in here, but y'all did it once and we get to do it now. So Artemis' twin sister will eventually take the next man, the first African American, and the first woman to the moon. And this is me, just a shameless plug. This is our core stage in its full capacity, and this is us taking it over to Mississippi to fully tested, fully integrated core stage is what we actually have. And then this is the actual test on the day that it worked. Because see, on the first day we fired it up, it ran like 80 seconds, and it's supposed to run 800. And I was sitting at home on the console, and some friends were there with me, and it ran and stopped. And they looked over at me and they said, was that supposed to happen like that? And I was thinking, no. But I tell that because there's someone sitting in this room right now that failed the test and didn't do as well as they thought they were going to do. And trust me, you're doing that in private, and it's not that bad. Even NASA fails, and we fail publicly in a grand way. Right? But I'm showing you the success because we were down a couple of weeks and we went back at it. So for the students sitting in the room, when you hit that bump or that place, I guess I could even tell the others in the room. Just be mindful that that doesn't have to be where you stop. You can kind of go back, regroup, and go at it again. The picture in the corner here, where I look like Superwoman, I think I look like Superwoman in that. That one actually won 3rd place in the NASA photo competition. It was the first time, they'd say, where do you want your picture in front of the flag? I never want my picture in front of the flag. Put me on the rooftop, put me on the tarmac, put me with the hardware. And that became a thing with us after that, was that we will showcase hardware from here on out, so people get to pick where they want to be. That hydrogen tank is the largest pressure vessel to date that NASA has ever welded. I was able to watch it go from individual barrels and individual domes to the whole thing integrated. My auspice was metals, and so I got to watch anything and all the nonconformances until they actually cover it with a thermal protection system, and then it switched over to a different engineer. This is launch day. So remember I told you I know everything that's wrong. And I was in California on the day that we finally launched Artemis. And so our very first mission for Artemis is to be able to go out go around the moon. We go around the Earth, we figure 8 around the moon, and the figure 8ing around the moon for us was at the furthest point we've ever gone in space, any humans. So of course, you can have a moment of pride. But I tell you what, before it ever lifted off, I was sick to my stomach, thinking, what if? What if we have another major failure on television? But we didn't. So it means I actually may know something. Oh, I'm pointing at him.
50 years after we last left footprints on the moon, NASA's Artemis 1 is our first bold step towards getting us back there and pushing us farther than we've ever been before. You are looking at the world's most powerful rocket and Orion spacecraft live on Launch Pad 39B. The energy here is palpable as we attempt to make history today.
We're going to learn so much about the solar system from the moon and even about the Earth.
Range weather. Weather is go for launch.
The mission management team has been told you have to go to receive the terminal count.
On behalf of all the men and women across our great nation who have worked to bring this hardware together to make this day possible, at this time I give you a go to resume count and launch Artemis 1.
4-stage engine start. 3, 2, 1. Boosters ignition. And liftoff of Artemis 1. We rise together back to the moon and beyond.
SLS now traveling 607 miles per hour.
The harder the climb, the better the view. We showed the Space Coast tonight. What a beautiful view it is. The first step in returning our country to the moon and on to Mars.
We are understanding now from the James Webb Space Telescope just how big and vast this universe is. There's a lot out there to explore. And this is the next beginning.
Orion is now flying free, attached to the European Service Module and on its journey to the moon.
NASA's shameless plug. But every time I watch it, I swell up with pride. Pride at being a NASA employee. Pride at working in the environments that I do for STEM. For the work that I do with diversity. Pride at being an American. Because that was hard work for 10 years. So some of us never see the output of the work that we actually do. There are people who started on James Webb that didn't finish on James Webb. And so for me, it's a very proud moment to have been a part of that. It was also that being launched which ended my time in the space sector. I went on to the other A in NASA. I did the first one, aeronautics. And so now I'm a plane person. And so I worked 9 months on the low boom flight demonstrator project, which is a plane that they are now creating to be able to get rid of the sonic boom. So let me tell you, I went out to Palmdale and I'm working from home. And I live 1 block over from a gun range, right? And so every now and then I kept hearing boom, boom, a boom. And I kept saying, Jesus, what are they firing in that gun range? Because see, I was living more than 40 minutes from the Air Force Base, where the planes were taking off and creating the what? The sonic boom. And one day I was on Zoom and I was talking to my superior and I said, did you just hear that boom? She said, yes. I said, I don't know what they're doing at that gun range. And she started laughing. She said, you do realize that that is the project that you were working on and that boom is the planes taking off. And if you can hear it more than 45 minutes away from where they're taking off, imagine what the people are hearing right there. That's your job. And I was like, man, I was waiting to go into the gun range because I thought they were shooting some torpedoes or something over there. I got really hyped. So I worked on this project for 9 months. And then after that, I got a promotion. That's what I'm supposed to tell you. And I became the airworthiness deputy of the Electrified Powertrain Flight Demonstrator Project. Big deal. But with this project, we are going to create hybrid electric planes. And that reduces the carbon footprint here on Earth. And so I'm really excited because now it's something, not only am I doing something amazing and hard and the technology and it challenges my brain all the time because they stuck me as an engineer, but I am really a physicist and a scientist at heart. I'm always looking for data points, right? But they like me as an engineer. But this I get to do. So there's new battery technology and new image storage systems that we're going to fly on these planes. And we are working with 2 contractors, so with GE and Magnex, and you guys can actually go and Google it. And these are our planes on what we look like. One's a 340B Saab, and the other one is a Dash 7. And so those are the 2 planes that we're going to retrofit. They're going to be hybrid electric, and that's what we are actually doing. I am super excited about that. One is flying out of Manassas, Virginia, and one is flying out of Moses Lake, Washington. And so it's just an amazing project. And just the idea that there are so many amazing people working on it. And for the first time, I feel like I belong in a space. You see, they wrote my name, I got to write my name, and it was my moment to go to space, right? But now, I didn't even really think about it. I originally wanted to be a pilot, and I originally wanted to work with airplanes, and this is how I'm going to end my NASA career, is working with airplanes. This is my team. This is our executive team that is on there. So anybody in here want to be an engineer? One. Maybe. Sorta. Okay, maybe. Oh yeah, that's fine. All right. For you, what was your name again? Got it. Ava. For you, I want you to take a good look at this picture. Because I'm fighting to make your picture look different, right? The woman in the middle with the blue on, she's our project manager, so she's over our whole entire project. That doesn't always happen. So Ava, sometimes I walk into a room and I'm the only woman in the room. Sometimes I'm the only African American in the room. But the reason I keep showing up is so that'll be different for you. So, we mentioned that I served as the president of the National Society of Black Physicists. This is where I actually found out I wanted to be a physicist. I had gone to the conference as a chaperone, because remember now, I went back to school after 10 years, so I'm older than everybody else in the room, and I got sent as a chaperone to the conference. And while I was sitting in the conference, it was the first time that I had seen that many African Americans in one room talking about heavy stuff, like string theory and black holes, and I was like, yo, this is my place, these my people. I want to be one of y'all. And they was like, that don't happen. You're an engineer. And I was like, that don't matter. What I got to do? I want into the club. And they told me you got to go take some other courses. So I went back and took undergrad courses as a graduate student, got some of that physics under my belt, and then took my physics courses, and then went on to get the PhD that I had. I was willing to do that work because that's where I wanted to be. That was the space I wanted to be in. So if you are sitting here right now thinking that you might want to make a change, do it. Because if the other thing is calling you, it wants you. And the universe has something for you to do with that other thing if it's calling you. Several years later, a lot of years later, I became the president. Now, that was a trick. A friend of mine called me, she says, I need to put you on this here ballot. Why? She was like, because we only have one other person running, and I just want to put you on the ballot, and it'll make it look like, we had people who wanted to do this. I said, all right, cool. I want to do this. She said, fill this paper out for me. I said, okay. Fill the paper out, send it back. She says, well, you could at least pretend that you wanted to do it. I said, I am. I wrote some stuff on there. Well, I was at home. I got a text message that said, you need to log into the meeting. I said, well, why would I need to do that? She says, you won by a landslide. I said, wait, what? She said, you won. And I became the second woman to hold the office of the National Society of Black Physicists after 33 years. The first was Shirley Ann Jackson, Dr. Shirley Ann Jackson. If you do not know who she is, please look her up, because it is an amazing feat to be able to walk in her footsteps and to be able to thank her for doing the things that she did so that I could stand on her shoulders and be able to do the things that I did. The organization was about to go belly under. We were fighting to keep it from filing bankruptcy and being dissolved. It is now millions in the bank. So I am extremely excited about the work that we did. It was hard work, but we did that, to be able to do that. I've served on international committees and traveled all over the world as part of IUPAP, which is the International Union of Pure and Applied Physics. I absolutely love doing that work and being able to still be in the room with some really amazing physicists doing some really amazing stuff. I've been in the room with Nobel laureates. And so if you're ever questioning whether or not you belong in a room, stop looking at the opportunity and questioning it, but stand in your opportunity and revel in it. So back to that hearing loss. It derailed me once, and it'll never derail me again. I now stand as an advocate for those whose voices just aren't big enough, or they're afraid, right, to make too much of a rumble. I tell them I get really loud with it just so I can hear myself. But this is what I get to do. This picture is my 0G. I was actually got to test on the plane when we got to test whether or not we could hear or not on the plane with some other equipment. In 2021, I filled out an application because somebody contacted me on LinkedIn and Twitter and said, you should fill out this application. We think you'd be great for a part. And I said, okay. And so I have filled out another application and sent it in too. And the guy wrote me back and said, I changed some things on some things. I think we should submit this application. I said, okay. But see, when you're going through these kind of things, you don't know who is picking you. So for me, I probably should have put a little bit more effort into it. And I told my dad, well, they called me to fill out the application. I shouldn't even have to fill out this application if you're calling me. And my father said very humbly, right? Please remain humble and remember that what you have today may not be yours tomorrow. And if it was given to you, you have a responsibility to handle it with care and to share it to the world. He said, so the next time someone sends you something to fill out, you need to fill it out properly. I said, okay. That's my answer, okay. 6 months later, I got another call and said, you made the short list. I said, well, that wasn't a long list, was it? And they said that there were 67 people and we're down to 10. I said, you looked at 67 people? You interviewed 67 people, and I made your short list. They said, do you know anything about computer science? I said, absolutely not. I don't know anything about programming. On a good day, my computer don't even work. It does, it just turn on, but if it do something else, I gotta call IT to fix it. I don't know nothing about computer science. My best friend, I would write the code, he would debug it. That's how I passed computer science, okay? So anybody sitting in here struggling with computer science, that guy with the red sweatshirt on nodded his head because he knows a whole lot of programming, don't you? No? See, look, I just guessed that because you was nodding like, she don't know what she's doing. But find somebody who knows what they're doing, right? Become their friend, and they'll help you. He's my best friend in the world now. I couldn't do anything. He said, just write the code. I'd write the code. He'd go in and debug it, and I promise you, that stuff looked nothing like what I wrote, but we both got credit. So in 2020, they selected me as a Google Black Woman Tech Maker. And this was after being interviewing 67 people, and then I worked with this team out of the UK, and they sent some other people remote, and then we made this great little film, and it won a Webby Award. this year. And so it was one of those things where I remember thinking about my daughter, who's now 25. I wanted to be able to change this world for her so that she could do the things that she wanted to do. In order to do that, I need to be able to make an impact, and slowly I am being able to do that. Oh wait, too many times. Hold on. This is an excerpt from the documentary.
I've had a PhD now for 10 years. Nobody hands anybody a PhD. Which says that I am intellectually capable. And I still question myself.
I was blown away when that's the piece that they chose to use as the advertisement. It's me saying to the world in my very vulnerable state, I still question myself. So if I hold a PhD and you are sitting in this room and you're questioning yourself, it's normal. It's part of the normal process. To be able to question yourself. I question myself less now than I did before, but I still question myself. I have a high level of anxiety with my hearing loss, that I truly hear what I heard, because words that start with B, W, and D all sound the same to me sometimes. So you get where I'm going, which, ditch, and that other one all sound the same, right? And so there have been times I've been sitting in the meeting and I'll go, did he? And then my coworker will say, no, he did not. I'm like, all right, I was just checking. But I still question myself. I still question myself on whether or not I belong in the room. I still question myself on whether or not I'm supposed to be doing the work that I actually do. When I got up at 2:45 to catch a plane to come here, I questioned whether or not I would bomb this talk. I did. He's looking at me like, really? But it's simply just a matter of, am I showing up big enough to make the impact to change the world? So you can be an engineer, my daughter can walk through the world, so you can choose whether or not you want to be a computer scientist or even help anybody else, right? I need to know that that's my thing, and to be able to do that. So I'm grateful for Google for giving me that platform. It was seen by some millions of people. I was like, dang, this thing been viewed almost by 1 million people or something. It's like some crazy number, right? I was like, who in the world wants to look at me that much? And then when it won the Webby Award, they were like, that's why. See, the thing is, that's not really about me. I mean, it is, but it's not. It's about getting you in that space so that you also can do something that'll impact and change the world. So this is my contribution to change, the books. Dr. H Explores the Universe. It has a cute character in it. The book was a joke. The character, my girlfriend had one made, and she said, I got Avatar made. It ain't even an avatar, y'all, so don't tell me nothing. So I said, I want an avatar. And she said, this guy made it for me. You should tell him to make you one. So I called him up and said, can you make me an avatar? And he said, I'll make you an avatar. And he didn't even correct me at that point, right? So he made this cute little character, and it started showing up in my PowerPoints, right? People were like, what you gonna do with that? I said, I don't know, maybe write a book one day. They was like, you gonna write a book? So be mindful of the words that you speak into the universe. Those things have a way to manifest themselves. 2 years later, I was at another conference, and someone in the audience said, 2 years ago, you said you were going to write a book. How close are we? And I went, what? They was like, you know, with your avatar. No, your Bitmoji avatar. I was like, oh, yeah, we're almost there. Well, I was finishing my presidency for the National Society of Black Physicists, and ethically, I thought it would have been wrong to produce the book during that and people buying the book because, you know, I'm the president. So I said, as soon as this bid is over with, we're going to release the book. And that's what we did. I did a lot of work in 3 months to be able to release a book that was a joke to begin with. So even when you're thinking about things in your head, remember, they're there for a reason. We joke about them, but it really could be something. So this is my contribution to change. Because little kids who are hard of hearing or wearing hearing aids are now picking up this book and go, oh my God, She wears hearing aids like I do. My first big impactful moment was I had gone out to the school and there was this little boy in the after-school program. And he was profoundly deaf, and so he spoke with a deaf accent as well. And he had a cochlear implant on one side and a hearing aid on the other. And he was so blown away that I had a pair, and I took them out and showed him, and then I put them back in. And it was the first time he was willing to do a round-robin read with us. So he came up to the front of the room and he started to read, and his friends kind of laughed a little bit. And I said, that's not polite. I was like, he just got up here and it took a whole lot for him to do that. I said, we should support him and cheer him on. His mother contacted me 3 months later, and she said for the first time, her son was reading out loud in school and to his brothers and sisters. And it was simply because he had found somebody to be in his tribe with him. So my contribution to change are the books. The most important thing that I've done is my family. So remember I showed you those boys over there. And then one of them has made me a grandma. And so I got 2 grandbabies and then my little dog Frank and my daughter. This is the most important contribution I think I've made to the world. Is bringing responsible, happy, healthy individuals in the world who are walking their own path because they said to me one day, we're not going to go in science. They said, you cast a pretty big shadow, and we don't want to stand in it. And it hurt my feelings. But I thought about that, right? They should be allowed to be their own individuals like my parents allowed me to be my own individuals. So if there are parents here today that are still upset that those kids did not choose your field, let it go. If there are parents here today who are trying to still push these kids into your field, let it go. You guys cast big shadows. And sometimes we don't realize that for ourselves. And because of that, they don't want to stand in that space. Now they, do it as little whiny teenagers, even when they're 30s, they're still whining about it. But trust me, they have a lot of mad respect for you in the space that you were standing in. So my very own trip into space. So first my name got to go into space, and then I became an ambassador for Astro Access Ambassador, which is an organization that believes space should be accessible to everyone, with or without disabilities. So we took a whole group of us on this particular trip, and the 3 of us all work for NASA in the center of the picture. The young lady under the A is blind. The one in the middle with the very excited face is deaf. And then I'm hard of hearing. All 3 of us work for NASA, and we got to do this. We flew with a group of 15. Some of them were, there was a 4-limb amputee, a 2-limb amputee, a paraplegic, and just a host of ranges of disability. And we all did research on the flight. We were able to feel lunar gravity, Martian gravity, and 0G. It's the most amazing thing that I have ever done. And if I don't do anything else amazing, I think I might be okay. But I'm here today because you guys are going to be in Totality. How many of you knew that before you got here today? This whole room there right there. Because that means I was about to say your marketing plan is off, man. So April 8th, it's going to happen, and it's going to go from Mexico all the way up to Canada. And that's where the moon passes between the earth and the sun, completely blocking out the sun. Yeah, that's what's going to happen. The sky will go dark as it is as dawn and dusk. And the cool thing I thought was that nocturnal animals may wake and other animals may sleep. I live on the bayou. So I wish it was coming over there because I want to know what the ducks going to do, the ones that be squawking at the wrong time, or even our roosters. I'm just curious what the roosters are going to do when this happens, right? All right. So y'all know you have to have glasses. You got to have them on the whole entire time. You can remove them when the totality happens. Keep them real close though, because as soon as it starts peeking back through, you got to put them back on. I don't want to hear nobody went blind because you didn't do it properly. There are different phases that it's going to go through. There's a partial eclipse, the shadow band, the Bailey's beads, the diamond ring, and then totality, and then it will reappear in that reverse order. And so this is kind of what it will look like. And it's such an amazing thing. So who will have their cameras out that day to do this? So a few will, okay. Are you guys ready for it? It's a pretty big deal being in the path. You guys got lucky, I think. So here we go. It'll go from Mexico, Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Missouri, Illinois, Kentucky, Indiana, Ohio, Pennsylvania, New York, Vermont, New Hampshire, Maine, and Canada. Before they called me, I had no idea where Blacksburg, New York was. And guess what? You're on the map. So I actually found it and you're on the map. So I will be able to say, I was there before they went into darkness. All right, so So right now, I bought some books to give away. And I'll see if you want to purchase them after that. But I'm going to give some away. I want you to guess where I will be when this happens. So, which part of the world, in North America, will I be? Who wants to enter a guess? Okay, where will I be?
I think you could be in Little Rock.
Okay.
Space.
Okay.
That's a bad answer.
Popular Bluff. From Poplar Bluff.
Poplar Bluff, okay. All right. Carbondale, okay.
How about just an airplane?
Ooh, an airplane. Ooh, that's a good. Texarkana? Anybody else want to enter a guess? Waco? Caribou. The crazy thing is someone has actually said the answer. I didn't think anybody was going to say the answer. Anybody else want to guess now?
Can I say like something that someone else said?
Yeah.
The
Oh, Carbondale, I'm going with that one. Okay. That's it?
Little Rock.
He's saying Little Rock, all right. So I'm curious, why did you say Little Rock?
Because there's a lot of astronomy companies in Little Rock. I know a bunch of guys that make telescopes there. It's kind of a space place.
So I didn't even know it was a space place, right? But I will be in Little Rock. They called me about doing an event the Saturday before in Little Rock. So I'm going to go speak in Little Rock on the Friday before, right? And then they asked me to stay, so Friday and Saturday, and I said, okay, that'd be great. And then they said, well, you going to go home on Sunday? I said, yeah. They said, but where are you going to watch the eclipse? I said, wait, what? What are you talking about? They was like, the eclipse comes right through here. So I'm going to stay in Little Rock. So I will watch it in Little Rock. There's like a whole lot of programming going on in Little Rock. It's huge. They have their national parks are doing something while we're there. We're going to give out these Dr. H glasses while we're there and do that as well. It's just amazing that this will affect so many people this time around. And I think they said for the last total one, it was like 20 million people saw it. So I cannot wait to see what the number is going to be for something so amazing, right? If you're over 80, this may be your last one, sorry. But because the next one takes a while before it gets here, right? I'm in my 50s, I might catch one more if I'm lucky, right? You know, if I'm not running around here hitting deer and things. But I may actually, just saying. I may catch another one. I may actually catch another one. The catch is, I want you to be in the moment. They've done all this programming around it. Know what it's going to be and what that's going to feel like and where you are going to be. And don't be in a plane when this happens. You want to be on the ground. My desire is to be happy. And so that's how I got to my find the place where you are happy with your passion, you find your happiness in that place where you can take your talent and your passion together. So it says get out of your seat. Right now, I'd like you to get out of your seat. We're going to just squiggle a little. Just a little bit. Now he's turned down the music, so forgive him. He doesn't understand the mission. Because I just want you to move just a little bit. And say, this makes me happy. Oh. There we go. Come on, guys. One more time. Yes. See, you'll always remember this. You may not remember anything I said, but you'll remember the dancing. Ready? All right. Thank you for dancing with me. And I thank you for being here. I truly thank you for giving up your time. You could have been anywhere, but you chose to be here, and I truly am grateful for that. For those who thought this was going to be a heavily scientific talk, I do apologize. Y'all see in your face, like, why are you talking about that? That's not what I always come to do. I come to make sure that we are all impacting the world somehow. So if there's something inside of you that you think should be, then it probably should. If you haven't started it, start it. If you're dreaming about it, figure out how to actually make it happen, regardless to what that is. I'll open the floor for questions, and I do have books for my two little rock guests. Questions?
I have one.
Yeah.
There's a company on the airbase here that's doing an electric plane, a commuter electric engine plane. I wonder if that's part of your program at all, or?
What company is that?
Oh, I wish I could remember the name, I'm sorry.
Beta Technologies.
Beta Technologies.
Beta Technology. No, they are not. So the companies we are working with is MagniX, and MagniX, and their integrator is Aerotech, and then Aurora Space Flight Sciences, which is a Boeing-owned company now, and they are working with GE. So Boeing is the integrator, and GE is providing the actual engines, and with that, BAE is providing the battery system. And on the MagniX side, they are providing their battery system, or what do they call it? Energy storage system. So we are not working with them. Yes.
We just saw the VR NASA exhibit it was in Montreal, the virtual reality immersive. It was sort of amazing. Christine, she's going to be on the next mission. Have you worked with her?
I have not.
No.
So Victor,
Okay.
who is on the next, so Victor, who is on the next Artemis system, he will be the pilot, and him and I are really good friends. And we've been on panels together. And recently, I gave the Safety Day talk over at Johnson Space Flight, and it was with those pilots and astronauts that are training. So I do know Victor. I've worked directly with Victor, and him and I are really good friends.
Yeah, it was an amazing.
We're going to the immersion. We're going to do the Van Gogh in Montreal.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who's done it? Anybody done it? No, not yet? All right.
So I was wondering what the best piece of advice would be for somebody who might want to be a NASA engineer.
Remember, it's not going to be easy. A lot of times we think the things that we want should just come to us, and they should be easy, and they really shouldn't, right? You don't appreciate them so much if they just hand it to you or come really easy. So that's my first thing. Then my second thing is, if that's what you really want to do, you're going to hit obstacles, but don't let them deter you. You take my phone number and you call me, all right? Other questions? Yes, ma'am.
You've done so many different things, and that willingness to just change and do something. To do something new. Where do you get the courage to not be in this track and just say, well, I'm going to do this other thing. I'm going to go back to college. I'm going to raise these kids. I'm going to get this other career. What advice do you have about just taking the things that are in front of you?
So I actually teach a workshop called Surviving to Thriving. And the reason we don't make the change is because we're stuck in survival mode. And so when you realize that you're only there because it's your safe space, right? Sometimes it's the worst place to be, right? Well, when I went with the kids, having to go back to school with the kids was the hardest thing that I did. And I almost failed out my first semester, and I was on scholarship because I was still trying to live life as a normal individual and not as a student, right, with other responsibilities. Well, after doing all of that, that's when the workshop was born out after I graduated, because what I realized was it really took about adaptation. But my focus became happiness. Like, I wanted to be internally happy. I wanted my happiness to be so such that it wasn't attached to anything else, but just what was inside of me. And when I started focusing on just my happiness, it also meant that it was easier to make change. Because if I get up and I'm doing something for 6, 7 months or a year or two, and I'm unhappy, something's gotta give. Like I'm doing all these things, but I can't seem to find my happy place. Like my cup is empty. And so I started focusing on happiness in my cup, and then it meant change got a little bit easier. The hardest thing to do was to give up Artemis. It was hard because it was the thing. It was the hottest thing happening. And everybody recognized me as the NASA woman in New Orleans, and it was like a big thing, right? And then I thought to myself, even if I quit NASA today or tomorrow, no one's going to take from me that I was a 10-year NASA engineer. Like, the title is still good, right? So yeah. No one can take that I worked on Artemis for 12 years. That title was still good. And so when it comes to change, a lot of times we're thinking we're going to lose something if we make the change. But think about it. If you're a mom and you make the change now to grandma, you're still a mom, right? And if you kick everybody to the house and become an empty nester, you're still a mom, right? If you originally was an engineer and you no longer want to be an engineer, you still were an engineer. So a lot of times, change is about not wanting to let go of what that brought you or that feeling. And now it's like, when it no longer brings me happiness, it's out. It's that simple for me now. You got to find a thing that makes you want to be there, and if it's not there anymore, then that's not the place. Any other questions? They made this happen for you. Going once? All right.
I have 2 quick questions. Did you, have you ever been able to get your pilot's license? And what path did your daughter end up taking?
Those are 2 loaded questions. All right. So no, I did not get my pilot's license because I really thought I wouldn't be able to because of my hearing. And it was funny because I started working with these pilots and they can't hear ish. They be saying, they be like, say it a little louder. I'm like, dude, do you need hearing aids? They were like, yes, I do. And I'm like, yo. And so I jokingly said, I really wanted my license. And the guys just told me, you can go get your license. Like there's these, the headphones and all these things, and you'll be able to fly, Renee. So a friend of mine is currently getting his license because they're going to open up a pilot school. And once they open up that school, I'm going to go to start getting my license. My daughter was walking kind of my path, and so we found out my daughter is hearing impaired as well. Hers was, we knew before they actually diagnosed it, though, and so hers was diagnosed at 19 or 18, so mine was 17. Hers was 19 or 20. She went into hearing aids at 22. She is currently now working on her nursing degree with some specialized stethoscopes that takes the sound and pipes it directly to her hearing aids so that she can stand on the same playing field as everyone else. Now, I wish she had gone in a different field because all of a sudden she wants to be telling me what I should be eating, how much working out I should be doing, what my blood pressure numbers ought to be. She wants to know if I'm taking my medicine right. She should have picked another field. But her father was an OBGYN, and so she chose to follow in the medical field in his footsteps. My oldest son is a chef, and my middle son is a warehouse worker. Any other questions? You got one more? I could take one more, going once, going once, going once, going, yes.
How did you manage to balance going to college and having 3 kids?
All right, so you heard me say I almost flunked that first semester out, right? Right. We instituted the calendar system. The calendar was on the wall, one of those big wall calendars, and whatever you wanted to do had to make the calendar by Sunday. If it was not on the calendar by Sunday, I don't care what it was, we did not do it. And we lived and died by that calendar. That's the first thing. Now, I'm from Louisiana, so superstition runs deep in the woods down there, right in the bayou. I started the semester the same every single semester. I bought the same notebooks, I bought the same pens, I bought the same pencils, whether I used them or not. If I didn't use them, I donated them. I'm convinced it was those notebooks that got me through. But it was the calendar system. And we had a strict schedule, like strict schedule. Now, my son was here, he'll tell you, he's a chef, he'll tell you, there were times I forgot to feed them, right? I forgot to do the cooking, and he would do the cook, make the sandwiches or whatever. And I kept saying, it's not even on the calendar. And so they started writing on the calendar, feed us. But it was hard. It was hard. There are things that happen, health issues, just all kinds of things that actually happen, right? But I wanted it more than I wanted to allow the obstacle to stop me. So you guys are in school with no kids, and I say all the time, you have no kids. So when things get hard for you, just stop a moment and sit there and think about what that hard is, and know that it's still going to be better on the other side. You can either choose to make it a hill that you can climb, or a mountain that you can ski over. But it's totally up to you. I think my time is up.
Yes, but would you talk about your fingernails for a minute?
Okay, so I believe the universe loves me dearly. My fingernails. Right. So one, they are always extra, because when I show up at work, I'm going to be a woman no matter what. You can put me in one of these old manly suits, They told me, you got to change your clothes when I got this promotion, right? I was like, well, why do I have to do that? I was always wearing a NASA polo and, pants. I said, I look good. They were like, this is a grown-up job. So I went and got suits. So I got all these female suits. I look great. And then I walk in, and these things are blinging, y'all, like, pow, right? And they like, oh, let me see your nails. And they all up into them, right? But this is my individuality. This is me showing up and telling engineering, you will not take from me who or what I am. I went to the nail shop on Tuesday. She said, what color are we going with? And I said, black and red. I just grabbed them off the thing and then went on. And I said, and you are more than welcome to do whatever you want with them. So she added a little bit of white and a little silver on here, cut some rhinestones. I'm bling, 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 right? I'm sitting down and she says about the colors, and they're your school colors. But I did not know that until today. And so that was the universe saying that this is going to be an amazing trip. And here I am. You're welcome.
Token of our appreciation.
It's kind of heavy.